In the days since the conclusion of the regular season, we're still reacting to what we saw on Saturday, but most importantly, what's going to come in the month of December for the Tennessee football program to take that next step.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good Tuesday morning, everybody. Welcome into it, your Tuesday morning Locked On Vols. I'm your host, Eric Cain. Appreciate you guys for being here, making Locked On Vols a part of your morning routine, your first listen, your first watch. Each and every single morning, we are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is the number one podcast network available right now, and it is your team every single day. Your team of the Tennessee Volunteers through good and bad. Feels like it's horrible right now, but it's really not all that bad, all things considered, in terms of where this program has been in years past. But I know it just doesn't feel good right now, because the last thing you saw was Tennessee just getting boat raced against Vanderbilt, and yeah, it was just horrible. We're going to continue to talk about that a little bit with Caleb Jarreau coming up, the Daily Times, his thoughts, his reflections on the season that was, and all this leading into a bowl game, of course. We won't know that destination until Sunday. Mailbag questions. I took a lot of time and scoured the YouTube comments again, trying to get as many of the questions that I could find, some comments as well. So this is kind of a your show, you everydayers. We call it the Mailbag edition of the show every single week on Tuesdays. So going to get into that in segments 2 and 3 as well. All that and more right here on Locked On Vols. National Signing Day is tomorrow. When you wake up, you'll get a National Signing Day preview you can listen to, head into National Signing Day, and lo and behold, maybe by the time you listen to it, a lot of the hay will already be in the barn. Josh Heupel likes to get his class signed early in the day. So we'll get you set for National Signing Day coming up on tomorrow's show. But without further ado, let's get into our conversation with Caleb Jarreau of the Daily Times. His immediate thoughts on the Tennessee football season as a whole. Caleb, 8-4 regular season. We know what happened on Saturday. Horrific second half for Tennessee. Obviously leaves a sour taste in your mouth. You remove all that, and this year's kind of what many thought it was going to be, right? 9-3, 8-4. Your immediate reflections on the Tennessee football season, Josh Heupel's fifth year.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with this is what we expected. 9-3 would be your prediction if you had an upset somewhere mixed in. But I feel like 8-4 was the floor for this team. The schedule was really easy, and they finished 8-4. I think where you get the fan discourse is nobody wants to get blown out by Vanderbilt, especially Tennessee. And also the close losses early in the year. Georgia comes to mind where you're going to overtime. I feel like those set unreal expectations on this football team, and then that kind of hurt fans down the road, and that's where you get some of the discourse. But truthfully, Canner, I feel like this is what you expected with this group, because I feel like if you told most people in June that your transplant quarterback who had been here less than 2 months would lead you to 8 wins and you'd win in the swamp for the first time since 2003, I think most people would take that. But it's just – you look through the orange-colored glasses and people saw close games, and then you see, your favorite team get run out of the Neyland Stadium to Vanderbilt and give them the cap on their best season in program history. And probably with the way it's shaping up, you gave Diego Pavia, the nail, the jewel in his crown to go to the Heisman Trophy ceremony in New York City. That I think the ending of the season does not reflect what it really was, which was, you met expectations. And I think a lot of people expect Josh Heupel now to be exceeding expectations, but I feel like 8-4 is where this team would have been in June.
My prediction was 9-3, and again, largely on the fact that I thought the defense would be much better. I thought Tennessee would run it better, and I thought that if Aguilar just gave comparable stats to what Nico gave you, like, this team would be pretty good. I mean, Aguilar was significantly better, had more turnovers, but significantly better than anything Nico ever gave you. Tennessee didn't run it as well. Tennessee was opportunistic defensively, but not consistent, and just not good on that side of the football this year. And so it's kind of wild how preseason expectations and thoughts can translate into the season. I will disagree with you, though. Talking about that Georgia game, you said it kind of gave fans unrealistic expectations. I thought Tennessee should have beat Georgia. It was week 3. Georgia was significantly better as the year went along. I thought Tennessee should have took advantage of that. Tennessee had about 14 chances to win that game and didn't. And I still think Tennessee should have beat Oklahoma. Your quarterback turned it over twice in the first half, and that was not good. And Aguilar, who was so good this year and helped you win a lot of games in terms of the 8 wins on the schedule because of his ability to throw the football, those turnovers were monumental in that football game. Oklahoma's offense is not good, and Tennessee's defense played well enough to win that football game, all things considered. So I think Tennessee should have won Georgia, and I think Tennessee should have beat Oklahoma. Now, Alabama was the better football team, and Vanderbilt was clearly the better football team on that Saturday. So I'm not saying Tennessee should have ran the table or anything, but like I saw that Georgia game, and that's kind of like I do agree. It's kind of like oh man, wow, this team could actually be really good. Oh, then that's when expectations change. I just don't think that they were all that unrealistic for the most part. What's your counter to that?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to play that game, Tennessee went to overtime at Mississippi State. What if the ball bounces the other way and you lose that game? What if Arkansas gets a couple bounces their way and wins inside Neyland Stadium? That was a close game as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, Tennessee was on the fine line the whole season with where they were. You knew you could score a lot of points and you had no faith in your defense most games. And you walked that fine line and it resulted in you won Mississippi State, Arkansas. You lost Georgia when you probably should have won. I'm not going to go out and say they should have beat Vanderbilt, but you shouldn't have gotten blown out by Vanderbilt.
Agreed.
In that final game. And even going to Alabama was the better football team, but you had them on the ropes there, and Ty Simpson was not playing, one of his better games of the season. So, you fell on the wrong side of that line more than you fell on the right. And I feel like that's just the story with this season. And you mentioned, Joey gave you a lot more than Nico Iamaleava last year ever would have. Could you imagine him with this defense, how those games would look? So I think people need to be really grateful for what Joey Aguilar brought to this offense. And also, we haven't talked about it in a while, but the offensive changes that Josh Heupel had this year to mix in some new things really helped this group and really counteracted what that defense was giving you, which was in a lot of games almost nothing.
Yeah, I mean, if Tennessee wasn't creating takeaways or sacking the quarterback, which Tennessee was one of the best quarterback sacking teams in the country until that Alabama game, and then it just disappeared. It was wild. But yeah, you're right, and I'll say later in the show, I already recorded the other segments. Sometimes that's just SEC football. Like when Arkansas took tons of teams to the wire this year. Mississippi State gave a lot of teams. I mean, sometimes that's just SEC football. But you're right, to that point, if one thing goes the wrong way, Mississippi State was an overtime win. I mean, there could have been some more losses on that schedule. Moving forward, everybody wants somebody fired and this and that. I mean, how, in your opinion, does Tennessee take a step? And we're not going to have the answer here on December the 2nd, okay? Like, everybody was I saw so many posts like, it's Sunday morning and Tim Banks isn't fired yet. Like, that's just not how it's going to work, right? Like, if a move of any magnitude is made, it's not going to happen. I don't see it happening until after signing day, but, like, what needs to happen for this team to take another step? Is it Josh Heupel? He's got to do a self-scout, self-evaluate. Like, what areas of this program have got to change for Tennessee to take another step?
Yeah, I think right now I'm kind of torn, truthfully, because when you look at the defensive issues this season, I don't really pit. I mean, obviously Tim Banks he's the defensive coordinator, so anything going wrong with the defense, he's going to bear some of that. But I don't think it's fully on him. I mean, you lose Ricky Gibson and Jermon McCoy. You lose Jermon McCoy a year ago. And then you lose Ricky Gibson at 19 snaps or 17 snaps into the first game. And you get blessed that you have Colton Hood and Ty Redmond thrown in the fire.
Hood, who was going to play some star for you. And,
exactly.
And, especially when Boo Carter was kind of MIA, like Colton Hood was going to be playing star. I mean, could you imagine McCoy, Gibson, Colton Hood? Whew.
And then that allows you flexibility with Jalen McMurray to maybe help out at safety, because we know that position's been an issue, or switch out so Colton Hood isn't playing every snap every game. Like, that just opens so much up for this defense. It would have taken a lot of stress off the other parts. Like, I think the linebackers probably got exposed a little bit more this year than they'd like to, because they had to compensate so much for having the secondary be poor this season. So I think that, you get a little, trump card almost, or a get out of jail free card of you lost your two best players on defense before the season ever started, and that hurts you. But I do think there's some, schematics too with this defense for Tennessee. How good can you expect this defense to be with the offense that Josh Heupel plays? They're going to be on the field so much. You hear that all the time. I do think, like, the floor should not be what this season was. Like, this season's defense cannot be put on the field next year. Then you got to start having a lot tougher conversations, truthfully, about Josh Heupel and his time in Knoxville. But I think you got to set expectations for Tennessee's probably not going to be a top 10 defense every year, just because of the way the offense is. But I do think you have to look at and do a self-scout and look at, do you think these issues are with Tim Banks, or do you think they're with personnel? And truthfully, I felt like a lot of times this season, players were in the position to make plays and just didn't. Yeah. And I know, like, I know Jason Swain said it this morning that he thought the team was soft, and there are a lot of VFLs who echoed that sentiment. I'm not in the locker room, so I don't know that, but there's also, you know, Jeremiah Thielander mentioned that practice issues or how it's unacceptable. So you hear a lot of different things. At the end of the day, you know, how much does scheme change what you saw this year? You know, maybe personnel, maybe you bring in somebody new to coach the safety, sure, but I don't know how much scheme helps. And then the Boot Carter situation obviously didn't help at all because they let that run out, I think, way too long, because you could look on the field and see that he didn't care. So then you had, you know, guys in the secondary who not only getting beat, but then you mix in a guy like Boot Carter who just wasn't trying, and it led to a lot of mistakes. But it was a boom or bust defense. I mean, your defensive line was still really good, like they have been under Rodney Gardner and Josh Heupel. You still got takeaways, you got picks. Ty Redmond is going to be a much better player next year for what he did this year. I think Idris Farouk will benefit as well. So there's a lot of bright spots. I think you need to get more bodies in that room, and you do have to look at if you think scheme is the issue. The only thing, truthfully, maybe is if you bring in a new defensive coordinator, there's a spark for the defense, like, you know, some more energy there and fans are excited. But Josh Heupel isn't going to, you know, make a decision based off of that.
Nor should he. And again, like to your point, I think a lot of times they were in position to go make plays and they didn't. And like, it's hard to be like, well, crap Tim Banks or crap Josh Heupel or crap Glenn Ellerby or, you know, whoever. But end of the day, it still falls on them because they're the ones making money and they're the ones being the coaches. And so it'll be interesting. I think a lot of the issues for Tennessee's defense, and we got to go here, but what I was really disappointed watching as a former, you know, stud Heisman Trophy caliber Division II player back in the day. I'm saying all that in jest. Was just poor angles, poor tackling. Oh my gosh, it was nauseating seeing how sloppy. And you're a good takeaway football team. A lot of times they go in there for the shot, right? The shot, they don't wrap up. They go in there for the shot, trying to jar the ball loose. They don't wrap up, and that's where you get the tackling issues. Caleb Jarreau, Daily Times, does a fantastic job. Appreciate it, man, and we'll have you on again throughout the month of December.
Awesome. We got state championship coverage this week, so Alcoa plays Saturday.
There you go.
Football.
Local sports.
Tennessee may be done. Tennessee may be done, but there's still football in this state.
Check out all of Caleb's work at the Daily Times throughout the academic school year. Caleb, thanks so much, man.
See ya.
The holidays always feel a little easier when you already know the perfect gift, and Omaha Steaks makes it almost too simple. Whether you're treating yourself this season or sending something memorable to family and friends, Omaha Steaks delivers handcrafted perfection right to their door. And this week is the best time to jump in because their cyber sale is here, and deals are huge. I've given Omaha Steaks as a gift before. I'm going to do it again this Christmas season. I promise you guys. It takes so much worry and anxiety and stress away of just trying to figure out, all right, what am I going to get my dad? What am I going to get my uncle? What am I going to get my father-in-law? Like, what am I going to get my grandpa? Like, my mom loves to grill. My mom loves to cook, right? I got my parents this a couple years ago, and I'm probably going to get my parents again. Crap, my dad listened to the show. Anyway, I'm probably going to get some people I love this gift as well. It's easy, and it's good. It's really good, and they love it. The quality, exactly what they hope for. Incredibly tender steaks, rich flavor meals that make hosting or weeknights cooking so much easier. And the food variety is so underrated, right? Steaks, burgers, comfort meals, sides, dessert. It's one of those gifts that truly fits anyone. I'm telling you, this deal is incredible as well. So listen to this. OmahaSteaks.com for 50% off site-wide. An extra 20% off select favorites during the cyber sale. An additional $35 off using the promo code COLLEGE. So, to recap, OmahaSteaks.com, 50% off site-wide. An extra 20% off select favorites over on the cyber sale. And if you use the promo code COLLEGE, $35 off. It's a pretty great deal. Terms apply. See site for details. That's omahasteaks.com. Great stuff as always there from Caleb Jarreau. Appreciate his time and willingness to jump on the show. Check out his work with the Maryville Daily Times. Does a fantastic job, and he sits right beside yours truly in the press box on Neyland Stadium home game. So lucky him. All right, let's get into some questions. Some questions I've written down from the YouTube show yesterday. A lot of you guys left some comments. I do appreciate that. Some concerns as well. We'll get into the halls of Valhalla. I like that. Question, you say Tennessee had nothing to hang their hat on, but in other segments and shows, you say Tennessee's offense is number one. Why mention that when you also know Tennessee hasn't beaten any teams of substance, being the best rated offense because you're beating the Northwest Idaho State Institute of Technology and Agriculture type teams on the regular just seems kind of disingenuous in my mind. Thoughts? Yeah, I mean, I hear you. Yeah, I mean, Tennessee's got the. Let's see if Tennessee finished that way. I would assume Tennessee did. Let's see here. Tennessee finished the regular season as the number 1 scoring offense in the SEC, just slightly better than that of Vanderbilt that finished number 2. Tennessee finished with the number 2 total offensive team in the SEC, just slightly behind that of Ole Miss. Tennessee was the second best passing offense in the country, less than 2 yards shy of the SEC, less than 2 yards shy of Ole Miss, and running the football, Tennessee was down there about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th in the conference. No, but to your point, I mean, I did say that a lot yesterday, like nothing to hang your hat on, but I kind of meant that in the sense of there's no signature win. There's no really, really good moments in terms of the win-loss column. Like last year, your signature win was beating Alabama, okay? 2022, you beat a ton of teams. 2023, you beat a couple teams, right? I mean, you didn't really have a signature win that you could kind of, and that's why I talked about going to the Georgia game, right? That's why it was so important early in the year. You beat Georgia, and Tennessee had every chance in the world to beat Georgia. You carry that around all season long. Like, oh, Tennessee did this. Yeah, but you beat Georgia. You beat Georgia. You beat Georgia. This is my pass into the college football playoff conversation. You beat Georgia. Tennessee didn't have that. I mean, Tennessee's best win, as we talked about in yesterday's show, was against an ETSU team that finished 7-5. I mean, technically Tennessee's best win, if you want to say, is beating Florida in the Swamp because you hadn't done that since 2003. And though that is a big deal, again, Florida's not a good football team this year. So I think Tennessee's offense, to your point, Tennessee's offense beat up on a lot of crappy teams. Tennessee did put up points against Georgia, which should not be forgotten. Tennessee put up 30 points. 27 points. Tennessee put up 27 points against Oklahoma. That's not great, but 20 points against Alabama is not good enough. 24 points against Vanderbilt is not good enough. It's not. So have some self-scout. What hinders you against some of the better defenses in the front seven, like the Alabamas, the Vanderbilts, and Vanderbilt not necessarily in this ballpark, but Tennessee had a tough time protecting against Vanderbilt. Oklahoma. It's like, what caused you to hiccup there? Tennessee's offense certainly evolved and got better, and the offense is back on track for sure this year, okay? So if you want to hang your hat on something that's not win-losses, it's that. That's good. But to your point, yeah, for sure. I mean, you got to do that against the Alabamas on the regular basis and the Oklahomas. You got to do that against good defenses. And though Georgia's defense is not like it used to be with all those Philadelphia Eagles players on it, it's still really good. You got to be more consistent in that regard. I appreciate you chiming in with that. The halls of Valhalla. Ken Johnson, 5500. Are we looking at changing something on the defensive side, like getting some coaching? We'll see. I don't think anything's going to happen before signing day. There's a number of guys on expiring contracts. There's a lot of new head coaches around the Southeastern Conference. There's going to be potential room. I mean, Joey Halsey's already been listed and linked to 2 different openings, right? OC openings across the league. Like, there's going to be a whole lot of that. Josh Heupel's got to self-scout. He's got to self-evaluate, what's going on. And he's got to come to a decision in that regard. I don't know what he's going to do in terms of that right now. I just don't. I don't. Just things need to change in terms of status quo. Things need to be roughed up a little bit, in my opinion. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know who that looks like. You can't stay the status quo is what I'm trying to say. You got to continue to evolve. That's kind of how I would answer that question. William Colball, 8768. As a Tennessee fan, I am not shocked at what Kiffin did to Ole Miss, and I believe they saw it coming. I saw some funny memes, right? Tennessee fans in a shirt and consoling an Ole Miss fan in a shirt saying, "Oh, is this your first time?" I thought that was hilarious, right? I mean, yeah, as we talked about in yesterday's show, Lane Kiffin's departures are ugly. They're ugly. They're always ugly. He's a heck of a football coach. Really, really good football coach. You just kind of hope that when he's at your spot, you win a whole lot of football games. And Ole Miss did that. Ole Miss is going through the best stretch of program history ever. Now, what does it do in the playoffs now with Pete Golden? We'll find out. But he was just here for 1 year at Tennessee. He didn't really have a chance, and then he left. So, like, Tennessee didn't get to reap any of those rewards. FAU did. Alabama's offense did. I mean, Nick Saban was in the Stone Ages offensively before Saban became his or before Kiffin became his coordinator, and he evolved. He evolved. Obviously, Ole Miss has done fantastic. So, yeah, I mean, Tennessee fans are going to have sympathy for anybody, right? But you could kind of see this coming away, and certainly this is his departures are always monumental for sure. Carla Jenkins TV, appreciate you always watching the show and listening to the show every day, or for sure. If there's a definition of an everyday, a Carla certainly fits that bill. Do you think Heupel should transition to a CEO? I ask because I think Heupel still sees his coaching role the same in 2021 as 2025, even though he's won the New York Six Orange Bowl, Biletnikoff Award winner Jalen Hyatt, multiple 10-win seasons, and a college football playoff appearance. His CFP colleagues Ryan Day, Kurt Signetti, and Marcus Freeman are all CEOs. Do you mean by this, should he step away from offense, allow a true offensive coordinator to come in and call plays and run a show, and truly just worry about the big picture stuff for his football team and just running the program? I don't know. It's a really good question. Tennessee's offense was better this year. Run game wasn't, but Tennessee's offense looked more like Tennessee's offense this year. I just talked about that. That's a good thing. That should be celebrated. Josh Heupel obviously has a big role in that. I think they need a GM, and that's just my opinion. And there are people behind the scenes filling that GM role, right? I mean, the job is still getting done, but you need someone on that support staff that is looking at player retention. I mean, there are people already doing this, but somebody that's specifically on money allocation to players, rev share, and all that, and it's one that can tell the head coach no. I don't know if there's anybody that can tell the head coach no right now. Like, you need to separate some of that stuff. So to answer your question, I don't know. Like, Josh Heupel is offense. That's why he coaches. He's a competitor. He loves going out there, scheming up things and competing against defenses. That is why he does it. Not Marcus Freeman. Ryan Day's the same way, but now he stepped aside and allowed Chip Kelly in years past and some other offensive play cards come in to do that. So could that be a step in the evolution of his program? I don't know. That's a really good question. Right now, I don't ever see that happening. But again, that could change over the course of a couple of weeks. He is such a competitor and such an offensive mind. But sometimes to be a head coach, specifically at this level, those are the type of sacrifices that need to be made. But again, this is more of a conversation for last year, in my opinion, not more this year, where, sure, just like we talked about, they got to come ready to play against better competition and protect well and all that against the Alabamas and the Oklahomas and all that. I get that, but the offense was much better now than what it was last year. It's a good question. I don't have an answer to it, but it is a good question. Carla also makes a comment here, and then we'll hit a quick reset. At the 1930 mark, I don't really know what I said there, but she says, honesty is admitting that Joey is a group of five worse quarterback than the prior quarterbacks. Yes, including Nico. I know that Nico had UT as a falling out coming into the college football playoff appearance. I know that Nico and UT had a falling out coming off the college football playoff appearance. UT could have gotten a Power 4 quarterback. Tennessee is a great place to land. I disagree completely. The quarterbacks available, Stephen Jelly, which I think if he would have stayed healthy, he would have a pretty good season, right? He was balling out for Syracuse early on. Stephen Jelly, Joey Aguilar, there weren't much else available. Now, are there backdoor politicking and all that? Sure, but again, remember, all this was in late April. If it was in December, absolutely, right? If this was in December, sure, like there'd be so much more options available, and Tennessee could have went and gotten an established quarterback if this happened in December. But this happened at the end of April, and there just wasn't a lot of realistic options on the table. The two best realistic options, Joey Aguilar and Stephen Jelly. And Tennessee went with Joey Aguilar, and I think obviously that was the right choice. If I'm reading your comment correctly, you're saying that you equate Joey to like a group of five quarterback, and he was worse than Nico. I think I'm understanding that right. If that is the case, I would disagree with that as well. I think Nico's got all the potential in the world. Nothing's changed in that regard, but I mean, Joey just led the SEC in passing. Like, that's just, sure, he threw it 10 picks, but you know, he was like, there were like 4 or 5 of the quarterbacks that actually threw more picks in the SEC than he did. I think Tennessee came out on that on top of that, kind of smelling like roses, to be honest with you. When we come back, more of your mailbag questions. Carla, thank you so much. I really appreciate you as always. We'll get into more questions, comments, concerns when we return right here on your Tuesday morning. Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994, and with the 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. That's why the Gametime app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes time to snagging those seats. With Gametime, you can track the price drops in real time, get alerts when the great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. The seat view feature is a game changer. You literally see you literally see the pitch from your seat. You see what that looks like, and you know exactly what you're getting before you hit purchase. Prices include fees up front, which I love. No last-second surprises at checkout. Alerts for teams and matches make it easy to grab tickets the moment they drop instead of missing out. So take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets in every match, concert, or event with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, put in the redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download that app, create an account, put in the redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime app today. All right, guys, welcome back into your Tuesday morning Locked On Vols. I am your host, Eric Cain. At the time of this recording, Chris Lowe of On3 reporting that Josh Heupel told On3 that he is not interested in the Penn State opening. His focus is on moving Tennessee forward. So, again, by the time you see this and hear this, you'll have seen it everywhere and all that. But, again, I didn't think that there was ever anything to that has legs. You never say never. You obviously, nose to the ground and ask questions and pay attention to everything. But Josh Heupel, not interested in the opening at Penn State, as he tells Chris Lowe of, I about said ESPN, but no, he's with On3 now. Chris Lowe of On3. All right, we'll get back into your questions, your comments, your concerns. Here's another YouTube comment. I just have a suspicion that the Vols may have lost on purpose, in part due to the diminished playoff hopes. It's not the case. Definitely not. Tennessee definitely did not try to lose on purpose. Now, didn't play well. Didn't play worth a crap in the second half. Might have felt that way, but that was not the case. Bruce Ellis, 78-55. Home field advantage doesn't seem to work anymore. Defense was bad, but the offense was trash as well. Yeah, offense was trash in the second half. I hear you. For sure. For sure. It should have been better. Drop the touchdown. Losing 3 games at home, that shouldn't happen. That should not happen. And that's the first time it's happened in 4 years. That just shouldn't happen. Your program is miles and miles and miles and miles and miles better. So much better. Again, for as bad as it feels right now and as frustrating as you are right now, the train has not left the tracks, okay? It is, and I'm not saying this is okay, but like, you are nowhere near dumpster fire, okay? We've been dumpster fire. We've seen dumpster fire before. This is not dumpster fire, right? This is not dumpster fire category right now. So, again, it's frustrating for sure, but it's not dumpster fire. But yeah, offense was bad in the second half. Defense wasn't good, and losing 3 games at home just shouldn't happen. Dave, 88-73, the penalty against McMurray was the right call. It had nothing to do with the fact that we pretty much got quit in the second half against a team that we're more talented than. Anyone that thinks Heupel is the guy to take us over the hump is delusional. However, firing him right now would be incredibly stupid, so the program needs to try to bring in better coordinators and hit the portal hard. In the meantime, to show future coaches we are serious about winning. I'm not following that comment. I know you said at the end to show future coaches we're serious about winning, but I mean, if you feel like, I know some fans, I mean, that's just fan short for fanatic. Some fans are out on Heupel. That's okay. But if you, like, from a leadership standpoint, if you were out on Heupel, like you would be out on Heupel. You're not waiting another year. We're not gonna I about to say Billy Gonzalez. We're not gonna Billy Napier this, right? That's just not good leadership, like what Florida did down there. Like, I'm not sure I really follow you. Like, if you think that Heupel is not the guy, then you should be for getting rid of him now. But that's not on the table. That's not happening. That's just my opinion, just like yours. But they will hit the portal hard. At least that's my anticipation. If they don't, that's a colossal mistake. Super Saiyan, struggling with Arkansas and Mississippi State were reality checks. Watching how Syracuse got whipped throughout their season told me that maybe we're not as good as we think, and we just catch teams at their worst. Example, Florida. This final and our opponent's record that we've beaten says everything about where we are in year 5. Well, I think Syracuse would have been a whole lot better if Steve Angeli would have stayed healthy. Again, he was balling out there before his injury. Go look at the schedules, though. I mean, I hear you, like Arkansas and Mississippi State are not good football teams, okay? But go look at the schedules. Arkansas played well against a lot of teams. Mississippi State played well against a lot of teams. They just couldn't finish. They just had no defenses for the most part. And again, it's a football, it's a team sport. You got to be well-rounded. I'm not trying to sit here and qualify those wins, right? But like that, sometimes that's just life in the SEC. Sometimes that is just life in the SEC. Like, you're going to go to the brink with some teams, especially on the road. Tennessee won the game in Mississippi State on the road, but I think Florida was down this year and Tennessee beat the crap out of them. I think Angeli would have been much better with Syracuse if he stayed healthy, and sometimes I think that's just life in the SEC. A couple more here before we got to end our show, and I did bookmark some of these, and there were a couple I'm not going to get into, so I do apologize. Let's go to Tyler. Everyone is calling for Banks to be gone. It's obvious we can't tackle, but we have to admit that we also have an offensive production problem against good competition. We need to hire a true OC. We can't have scoreless quarters or halves. Will we ever hire a true OC again? We kind of talked about some of the struggles against Alabama and Oklahoma, Vanderbilt. Tennessee did not go the half. I mean, there was a couple of times in 2024 where Tennessee went halves without scoring. Tennessee had 4 scoreless quarters against 4 ranked teams Tennessee played this year, 0-4 in those games, obviously. Your head coach is a true OC. That's just kind of where you are. Doesn't matter who the OC title is. I'm not saying Joey Halsey has not done anything because I think he's done a really good job this year. But Josh Heupel is your OC. And until we go back to what we talked about with Carla, like unless he steps back, if that's something he wants to explore, I guess your answer is probably no. You're never going to have a true OC because your head coach is your OC, and that's a conversation again for another day if that's the right move or if that's what should be happening in college football 2025. Okay, Jake. Again, some of this is the same. I'm just trying to allow people's voices to be heard. I'm not an advocate for firing Tim Banks. However, since 2021, Tennessee has ranked 99th, 92nd, 33rd, 6th, and now 97th. Which one doesn't belong with the others, right? 99th, 92nd, 33rd, 6th, and 97th. We need help on that side of the football. Why not Brent Pry? He was the DC at PCU and was ranked in the top 10 nationally on a regular basis. He was also the head coach at Virginia Tech before he got fired. I think he's a really good mind. There's some defensive coordinators who have been let go or defensive-minded coaches who have been let go that would be great additions. But again, I'm not having this conversation until if there is a move made there. I don't know if that's going to happen. If that is happening, then yeah, we can fire up the hot board and all that, and we can have that conversation. My style is not to talk about that unless there is something to talk about. But Brent Pry is going to be sought after on defense, just like Jeremy Pruitt. Jeremy Pruitt could coach in college right now, which I know he's kind of doing that analyst role now. I mean, kind of the same situation in that regard. Brian sent like 3 texts or 3 tweets. I'm only going to mention one of them because I'm running out of time here. Says, I'm trying to stay on the hype train, but it's tough. The more I think about it, 5 years in, the little things are not getting better. It makes me worry. Also, what happened halfway through the season to the offense? We thought it was humming again, and then we played better competition. Yeah. Again, we kind of talked about that. Penalties got better. Somebody tried to tell me penalties were continuously an issue. This is his least penalized team actually this year. So silver lining, least penalized team this year. Again, I think there's a lot to be proud of on the offensive side of the football this year. That does not mean it doesn't need to continue to grow. Too pass happy. Wasn't patient with the run game a lot of times this year. Like, didn't protect against good competition. Again, these are things that have continued to got to get better. But again, you think about next year, right? You're on pace as long as you keep this thing together. Bringing back 2 wide receivers that had over 700 yards receiving this year. A tight end that everybody's thrilled about in Ethan Davis. Maybe 5, at least 4, technically 5 if you count Sham in there. I mean, you're bringing back a ton of offensive linemen next year. Bringing back an experienced running back room. And then we'll see about quarterback. I mean, again, that's why that makes the quarterback conversation so interesting because your offense is yet again in win-now mode next year. For sure. How confident would you be rolling it back with Joey A, going to get a portal quarterback, or rolling with one of these young guys, whether it be Faison, GMAC, or whoever? Off-season topics. We're going to hit on them, trust me, over the month of December. But it's interesting to see kind of what you got coming back as well. So I guess all that to say is, like, they're going to go through struggles. They're going to evolve. they need to continue to get better. But yeah, some of those guys struggled against better competition, and that's where the offense has got to continue to get better. Made significant strides this year. Still not where it needs to be for sure. Thank you guys so much for sending in your questions, your comments, your concerns. I had some that I couldn't even get to because we had so many, but I do appreciate that. Big thanks to Caleb Jarreau, the Daily Times, for stopping by, giving us his thoughts on the Tennessee football season as well. Signing days tomorrow. We'll get your signing day primer ready. I'll tell you everything you need to know heading into the eventful day that is not really eventful anymore. Jack Foster from Omaha Productions is going to join the show probably tomorrow, maybe later in the week. We'll try to get him on tomorrow. We'll have Ward Wednesday as well. Busy times coming up. We'll continue the offseason conversations right here on Locked On Vols. A lot to talk about. If you've been with us all season long, don't go anywhere. Make this your first listen each and every single morning. Appreciate you guys. This is Locked On Vols.